Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving's coming. So there was a man in Chicago, and he calls his son in New York the day before Thanksgiving and says, I hate to ruin your day, but I have to tell you that your mother and I are getting a divorce. 45 years of misery is enough. Pop, what are you talking about? The son says urgently. Can't stand the sight of each other any longer, his father said. We're sick of each other, and I'm sick of talking about this, so you call your sister in Dallas and you tell her. So frantically, the son calls his sister, who explodes on the phone. Like heck, they're getting divorced. I'll take care of this. So she calls Chicago immediately and screams at her father, you are not getting a divorce. Don't do a single thing until I get there. I'm calling my brother back and we'll both be there tomorrow. And until then, don't do a thing. Do you hear me? Don't do a thing. And she hangs up the phone. And the old man hangs up his phone and turns to his wife and said, okay, you got what you asked for. They're coming for Thanksgiving and they're paying their own way. It's hard to find Thanksgiving jokes, trust me. So as we head towards Thanksgiving, the question is, what are you asking for? What are you asking for? This holiday is probably going to look a little bit different, than it has in years past, but we all have ideas about how we want it to be, right? So in our ministerial notes to prepare for the talk today, there was a line that this other minister wrote that just kind of jumped off the page at me, and I just had to use it as my talk title. It says, the quote said, gratitude and manifestation go together like turkey and mashed potatoes. So since we're starting the week of Thanksgiving today, I know you were expecting a lesson about gratitude, and I'm not going to disappoint you. But if gratitude is like turkey and manifestation is like mashed potatoes, I don't mean to be punny, but we're going to talk turkey first, because we're going to talk about turkey. Let's say, so gratitude is to spirituality what turkey is to Thanksgiving dinner. It's kind of the center. You can have one without the other, but spirituality is built on gratitude. In the traditional way of celebrating Thanksgiving, the meal is built on turkey. So each year around this time, we focus on gratitude and we focus on turkey. So we can guess why turkey is so important to Thanksgiving, but why is gratitude so important to us spiritually? Do you know? Let's talk about how life works and how gratitude mixes into all that. Last week we talked about making a decision to live an extraordinary life, to kind of rise above the mundane human procession and step into a greater expression of yourself, a greater choice. And we're inspired to want a world that works for everyone, but we're also inspired to want a life that really works for us too. It's just our nature to want things to be better around us, to be improving and shifting and forward in a positive way. And last week I also reminded you that God is inherently neutral. All the laws of life are neutral. Life is neutrally giving to all things. Spiritual laws are neutral as well, and they work for all of us equally. See, laws don't play favorites. Laws don't play favorites. The law of gravity does not favor one and deny other its important effects. It's neutral. So until we consciously set a law in motion with our own thoughts and emotions, nothing conscious is going to change. Nature can't choose to change direction on its own. A new choice has to be made by the chooser. So think about it. The intelligence that put the galaxy in place, the intelligence that orders the seasons and the cycles of life and death and birth, that intelligence operates as our bodies. That intelligence is pure awareness and consciousness, and it does not operate on its own volition. It waits for a choice. The creative process waits for our thoughts and our decisions and our emotions to direct it. And this happens either consciously or unconsciously, individually or collectively. God waits in possibility always. So let me explain that a little bit more. God is energy, and science has proven that energy waits in waves of potentiality, waves of possibility, until an observer observes and it causes it to particulate. So It's just waiting for someone to observe. So in this sense, science and spirituality are trying to explain the same phenomenon, that same law, that consciousness waits for a choice for an observer. So once we decide, once we choose, once we direct the creative power, it responds to us. In effect, we are the observer of the science experiment. And once we have thought and made decisions, our emotions flood around those thoughts and decisions. And that's what empowers those thoughts and decisions become more powerfully creative. So I'm going to give you an example because it helps to have an example to think about. So it goes something like this. Okay, so we're living in a certain place. We're living in a certain place. And then something happens and we get an idea, a thought that we could live somewhere else. Okay? A different apartment, a different city, with someone else, whatever. We get an idea. We have that single thought. And then that thought begins to grow. And it grows into the full idea as we think about it more and more. And if you're like me, you start talking about, hey, I'm thinking about moving, thinking about moving. And then we look into it and we research the idea further, don't we? We begin to think about it more and look up where we can move and all that. We research it and the idea solidifies into an intention with specificity about it. And that gets our emotions flowing about it. When our emotions start swirling around the thoughts, and they are positive emotions, we get excited, we get hopeful. And then what do? We identify the place that we want to go. And it gets super helpful when we start to imagine ourselves already in that new place. And here's where gratitude kicks in its power. We start to get grateful in advance. We haven't even moved to the new place, and we're starting to get grateful. We start thinking about the shorter commute that we're going to have, or perhaps we're going to be moving away from a noisy neighbor or something like that, or our expenses will change, and we get excited about that. Maybe we get excited about the weather in a new city, whatever, something about this move. You had the idea to begin with. So something about this move begins to generate this feeling of gratitude in advance. You haven't moved yet. Whatever there is to be grateful for in advance, you've identified it and you begin to run that in your mind. And voila, it starts to happen. The universe starts to respond to that gratitude, to that decision, to that excitement, to that research. And that's how it works. A thought starts the whole thing. And our emotions start circling around it. We get grateful in advance, and the thing happens. The thing is created. So let me just review a minute. So in order to powerfully create any change in the world, any change in your life, we must first set our mind to it. We must first set an intention. And then we must enter that state of faith and knowing. And it's important to enter into that feeling vibration of the change, of the new circumstance or the situation we desire. And the more we can sit in that feeling, the better. It's helpful to pray. It's helpful to meditate. It's helpful to vision and imagine what you want, what it is, this thing you want. And eventually there's an opportunity to feel grateful as if the thing has already happened. And then any disbelief, any doubt will begin to fall away. And then we're replaced with this knowing that the desired outcome is already in existence. And it is in this state of conscious gratitude that sets the law of manifestation into play. But before I switch to the mashed potatoes and manifestation, I want to talk turkey just a little bit more, because gratitude is so important. Gratitude is the highest energy vibration there is. When you're in a space of gratitude, it's impossible to feel lower states of vibration. You can't feel anger, you can't feel fear, you can't feel doubt when you're immersed in gratitude. That's why the fourth step of our affirmative prayer is gratitude. We express thanks in advance for whatever we desire. Gratitude is like miracle grow on the seed of possibility that we plant into the law. And it's vitally important to accept what we have right now in gratitude. So everything in our life is there for our betterment. and it will stay in our life until we can find a way to accept it with gratitude. Gratitude clears the way for something greater to arrive. So sometimes we have to ask ourselves very, very pointed questions, like, what is the blessing in this current job that I'm in, right? What is good about this noisy person being my neighbor? What is good about what's going on in my life? How can I appreciate Uncle Tommy and Aunt Susie one more time, for that matter? You know, how can I get grateful? What are the blessings of these people, situations, circumstances, things that are going on in my life? I have to get grateful for that, because we can't take a step beyond and above the current step until we can appreciate the step that we're on, right? We want the world to change around us, and gratitude is the answer to moving forward into a new manifestation. It's a fact. So Socrates wrote this a long time ago: to move the world, we must first move ourselves. To move the world, we must first move ourselves. Everything that we want to change, we must first start within our own minds and sprinkle it with gratitude, right? Okay, so let's talk about mashed potatoes. I like mashed potatoes better anyway. So I want to do a quote by Ernest Holmes and what he has to say about manifestations or demonstrations of creativity. He says this: since the law is mental, one must believe in it in order to have it work affirmatively for him. But it is always working according to his belief, whether he is conscious of this truth or not. Demonstration takes place through the field of the one universal mind. We set the power in motion, the law produces the effect. We plant the seed, the law produces the plant. It's an old science of mind teaching. So we've named the good that we desire, which is the seed. We've watered it with gratitude as if it is already created. We keep fear away from it. I call fear spiritual Roundup. You know, if you start putting fear all over your idea, it's just going to kill it, just like Roundup will kill a plant. Just will. So let's actually use that previous example about moving, and let's sprinkle fear on it and see what happens, right? So when we start to think about and talk about a desired move, it's really important to not sprinkle fear all over it, because we interrupt that creative process with fear. So it can just kill it. It'll kill the seed. So if we start thinking about, let's say, all the boxes we have to pack and unpack, which is like fear that we're just not up to the task, or we start having fear about the financial changes that come with the move, or we can kill the seed that way too. You know, change usually involves some degree of perceived loss. So if we start getting afraid of the loss that's going to happen, think about how quickly that could just kill the whole idea you have. It'll just kill it. And if we fear more than we're grateful for the change, we'll stop the manifestation process. That's why gratitude is just really so important. But let's say we're not in fear, and we've watered our seed of desire with gratitude and positive expectation. The law takes over and produces the plant, or produces the good we desire. And just like turkey and mashed potatoes go together, gratitude and manifestation always go together too. So I've shared this before, and I'm going to share it again. Whenever I feel like my life is kind of leaning sideways, don't you know what I'm talking about? Your life, like suddenly things aren't working right. You know, I almost always wake up and I realize that my gratitude practice has slipped. So my practice is to write at least 5 things every night before I go to bed in a little book that I keep beside my bed. And I've been doing this for years. But every now and then something will come and disrupt that pattern. You know, you travel, you forget to take your book with you or something, and then when you lose the practice, it's hard to remember to pick it back up. But when you get out of the habit of doing something, and it's hard to pick it back up, life will remind you. Life reminds me. It reminds me. What gets me back to my practice every time is that my life begins to show that I'm off. You know, synchronicity is just not what it used to be. Patterns get interrupted and things like that. My life begins to show me that I'm not maintaining it with the practices that I do. I've proven to myself over and over again that my life is better when I have a gratitude practice. It makes a difference in my life. The more I have to be grateful for. The more I am grateful, the more I have to be grateful for, right? The more turkey, the more mashed potatoes, right? I think that's how it works. So a Hopi elder once said, we are the ones we've been waiting for. We're the ones we've been waiting for. We want the world to shift in a positive direction. It's ours. You know, as spiritual beings of light and love, the world needs us to show up as the creative people making a difference in the spaces we find ourselves in. So let's remember that we have the power to influence situations, to influence the relationships we're in, because we bring our gratitude and our creativity to it. So what do you want to create this Thanksgiving week? What are your mashed potatoes today? What do you want? You know, what intention do you want to set as this week unfolds? You know, chances are you've already been thinking about how this week's going to go, right? And your emotions have probably been swirling all around those thoughts. Maybe you're dreading the impact of COVID on your plans. You know, most of us are. Maybe you're looking forward to some of the people you will see, but maybe not all of them, right? Maybe you're creatively thinking outside the box this year. And maybe you're delighted with the plans that you have for the week ahead, but no matter what, you're going to have some mashed potatoes, so make them good. You're going to manifest something this week. So as you move closer to your family, your friends, or whoever you're going to see over the holidays, just take that love and that intention with you, because you have the power to have a new thought and to create something magnificent. And if you're having trouble finding your thankful heart, I found this reading about gratitude in addition to the joke that I made in the beginning. I found this beautiful reading that I want to share. It says, be thankful that you don't already have everything you desire. If you did, let me start all over. Be thankful that you don't already have everything you desire. If you did, what would there be to look forward to? That's a hard sentence. Be thankful when you don't know something, for it gives you the opportunity to learn. Be thankful for the difficult times. During those times, you grow. Be thankful for your limitations, because they give you opportunities for improvement. Be thankful for each new challenge, because it will build your character and your strength. Be thankful for your mistakes. They will teach you valuable lessons. Be thankful when you're tired and weary, because it means you've made a difference. It's easy to be thankful for the good things. A life of rich fulfillment comes to those who are also thankful for the setbacks. Gratitude can turn a negative into a positive. Find a way to be thankful for your troubles, and they can become your blessings. So when you eat turkey this week, if you eat turkey, remember the gratitude. And when you eat mashed potatoes, remember you have the power to create. And if you eat them together, remember to have cranberry sauce just for Randy, because Randy loves cranberry sauce. So happy Thanksgiving, everyone. You are loved. I invite you to pray with me this morning, a prayer of gratitude. Today I speak a prayer, a word of gratitude for myself. And I invite each one that hears these words to just kind of take them into your heart and make them in your own. God is so good. Life is so good. So this morning, I just sit a moment in thanksgiving. I'm so grateful for my life. I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful for my friends. I'm grateful for this congregation of such beautiful people. They walk this walk with me, and I'm so thankful. I'm grateful for every good thing that graces my world from day to day to day. I give thanks in advance for a week of Thanksgiving. I give thanks in advance for a week of health and a safe holiday for each one. I expect deep gratitude to come pouring over my life in every way. I give thanks in advance for good food, for easy travels, for football games, for parades on TV, for everything that is about this holiday. I give thanks. I know for each one, for each dwelling, a fullness of gratefulness, a ton of love. I give thanks for that in advance. I give thanks for my friends far and near who I won't see this holiday. And I give that thanks for everyone present. I'm grateful for abundance that shows up in every kind of my life. I'm so thankful. So with this heart of gratitude, I know that I can surrender this week to the divine intelligence that created everything. And I do that with a heart of love and a heart of gratitude. And I invite you to affirm these words for me and with me. And so.